Today, I'm ranking personal finance advice from the best to the worst. We're gonna dive into what's genuinely good for you and what might be surprisingly terrible. We'll talk about investing, saving, and yes, even a bit of gambling. But we'll get to that part a little bit later on. Let's go ahead and start immediately with auto investing, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this in A tier. Because for most people, it works extremely well. Auto investing removes friction by automatically pulling money from your paycheck or bank account and putting it to work without you needing to think about it. That consistency is powerful and helps people build wealth without relying on motivation. The downside is you miss out on the emotional reward of manually investing, which some people need to stay engaged, but for others, that's actually a benefit. Overall, auto investing is a great system, just not perfect for everyone, which is why it lands in A tier instead of S tier. Bringing us to next, budgeting apps, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in A tier as well, because they're excellent wealth building tools for most people. They help you see where your money is going, control spending, and build awareness around habits. The main issue is that not every app works for every income type, especially if your income fluctuates. Some apps can be finicky or overly rigged. Personally, they don't fit my situation well at all, but for around 90 to 95% of people, budgeting apps are extremely helpful. They're not flawless, but they're powerful enough to deserve a strong A tier ranking. But before we go any further, I want to let you know later we'll be talking about one of the biggest trends in cryptocurrency, where I'll be giving my opinion on if it's good for personal finance in general. But for now, let's go ahead and look at buy now, pay later, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in F tier. It's one of the worst financial habits out there. Splitting small purchases into payments makes people feel things are cheaper when they're not. Paying off a burrito or clothing item in installments is financial nonsense. You're either paying more in the long run or creating unnecessary mental clutter with multiple payments. Loans should be reserved for major necessities, not impulse buys. Buy now, pay later encourages overspending and destroys financial discipline. This isn't a gray area at all. This is bad personal finance and it belongs firmly in F tier. Next up here we have car payments, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this down into D tier. While they are common, they are rarely smart. Cars depreciate fast, and paying interest on something that loses value immediately hurts your net worth. The second you drive a new car off the lot, you take a massive financial hit. For some people, car payments are unavoidable, but that doesn't make them good. If you can buy used or pay cash, you should. Car payments aren't the worst thing ever, but they're far from optimal, which is why they land in D tier. But next up here, we have cashback rewards, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw this up in B tier. I'm putting cashback rewards in B tier because they're useful, but not life-changing. Getting money back on purchases when you're already going to make it is always a positive. Credit card and debit card rewards can add up over time if used responsibly. The problem is when people overspend just to earn rewards, which is completely defeats the purpose. Cashback will not make you rich, but it can slightly improve efficiency. It does exactly what it promises and nothing more, which makes B tier a fair and honest placement. Which brings us to credit cards, which I'm going to go ahead and throw into C tier. Used correctly, credit cards can build credit and earn rewards. Used incorrectly, they lead to crushing debt that ruins financial progress. Most people fall into the second category. A debit card accomplishes nearly the same thing without the risk. Credit cards have a place, but only for disciplined users who pay balances in full. Because so many people misuse them, credit cards sit squarely in the middle. Not terrible, not great, but risky enough to earn C tier. Which brings us to crypto investing, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this into D tier. I'm putting crypto investing in D tier for personal finance purposes. Crypto is extremely volatile and often attracts people chasing quick wealth. Instead of buying real financial stability, if you're already financially secure and treat crypto as a small speculative investment, it can have a place. But for anyone struggling financially, crypto is a terrible starting point. You can lose money quickly, and there's still a lot of uncertainty around long-term value. It's not completely useless, but it's absolutely not where most people should be focusing, which is why it lands in D tier. Next up here, we have the debt avalanche, which I'm gonna go ahead and throw into B tier. The debt avalanche is mathematically efficient. This method focuses on paying off the highest interest debt first while making minimum payments on everything else. From a numbers perspective, it saves the most money over time. There's nothing wrong with that at all. The downside is that it doesn't always provide quick wins, which can hurt motivation. It's smart, logical, and effective, just not emotionally powerful for everyone. Because of that balance, the debt avalanche earns a solid B tier ranking, which brings us to the debt snowball, which I'm gonna go ahead and throw up into A. I'm putting the debt snowball in A because it works with human psychology. Paying off the smallest debts first creates momentum and motivation, which keeps people consistent. Personal finance isn't just math, it's behavior. If math alone made people rich, everyone would be wealthy. The The debt snowball gives mental wins that help people stay disciplined long enough to actually get out of debt. While it may not save the most interest mathematically, it often succeeds where other methods fails. For most people, this is the better approach, earning it in A tier. Bringing us next to delayed gratification, which I'm putting up in S. I'm putting delayed gratification in S tier because it's the foundation of personal finance success. The ability to say no now for a better future separates those who build wealth from those who don't. Modern culture pushes instant pleasure and constant consumption, making delayed gratification incredibly rare. If you master this skill, everything else becomes easier. Saving, investing, avoiding debt, and building discipline. It's not flashy, but it's powerful. Delayed gratification is the core habit behind nearly every financial win, which is why it deserves the highest possible ranking. Which brings us now to emergency fund, which I'm gonna go ahead and throw into A tier. I'm putting an emergency fund in A tier because it protects you from going into debt. Life happens, cars break down, medical bills pop up, and unexpected expenses are unavoidable. An emergency fund acts as a financial safety net. You don't need an insane amount either. Typically 3 to 6 months of expenses is enough. While it won't make you rich, it keeps you stable and prevents setbacks. Stability is underrated in personal finance, and that's why emergency funds earn a strong A tier placement. Bringing us to the one we were all waiting for, gambling, and I'm throwing this in, of course, F tier. I'm putting gambling in F tier from a personal finance perspective. While gambling can be entertaining in moderation, it's a guaranteed losing strategy over time. Casinos exist because they win, not the players. The odds are stacked against you, and most people lose money consistently. Treating gambling as an investment or income strategy is a financial disaster. It may be fun occasionally, but when it comes to building wealth, gambling does the opposite. For personal finance purposes, this is as bad as it gets, earning a clear F tier. And gambling isn't the only decision that belongs down here. Later, we're going to talk about a few everyday financial choices that quietly do just as much damage. Which brings us to get rich quick schemes, which I'm gonna go ahead and throw at D tier. I'm putting get rich quick schemes in D tier because they occasionally work. They fail almost everyone, however. There's always a tiny chance something hits big, but relying on that is a terrible strategy. Most of these schemes prey on desperation and impatience. Sustainable wealth has always come from saving, investing, and time. Chasing shortcuts usually leads to losses, wasted time, or scams. I won't put this in F tier because rare exceptions exist, but for 99% of people, get rich quick thinking is harmful, earning it a strong D tier. Which brings us to high yield savings account, which I'm gonna go ahead and throw at C. They're great for emergency funds and short-term cash you need access to. You earn more interest than a regular savings account without risk. However, they won't grow your wealth like investing does, and inflation can still eat away at returns. High yield savings accounts have a purpose, but they're not exciting or transformative. Because they're safe, stable, and somewhat boring, C tier feels like the right spot. Which brings us next to home ownership, which goes up into S tier undoubtedly. It's one of the strongest long-term wealth builders. Owning a home provides stability, appreciation, and protection against rising rent costs. Over time, it often becomes the largest asset in your net worth. While mortgages aren't fun and maintenance costs exist, the benefits usually outweigh the downsides. You're investing in something you actually live in. When done responsibly, home ownership builds equity and financial security, which is why it earns a top tier ranking. But we have to come back down to earth. Impulse spending is gonna pull us all the way down to D tier, I'm afraid. I'm putting impulse spending into D tier because it quietly sabotages your financial goals. Small, spontaneous purchases don't feel dangerous, but they add up fast. While occasional impulse spending won't ruin your life, frequent habits drain money that could be saved or invested. It's not as destructive as gambling, but it still works against you. Impulse spending often delivers short-term pleasure at the cost of long-term progress. Because it's common and harmful over time, it lands in D tier. Which brings us next to index funds, and we're gonna go ahead and throw this up into A tier. They're one of the best investing tools available. They're simple, diversified, and historically reliable. Index funds allow beginners to invest in broad markets without needing to pick individual stocks. They're low cost, low stress, and effective over the long term. While they're not flashy, they consistently outperform most active strategies. For anyone building wealth steadily, index funds are hard to beat. They're not speculative, they're just straight up proven, earning them a straight, strong A. Which brings us to meal prepping, which sounds weird to even be on this list, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw it here at B. It saves time and money and improves discipline. Cooking at home reduces food costs and often leads to healthier eating. While it won't make you rich, it can significantly cut monthly expenses. Again, And meal prepping also reduces impulse spending on fast food. The reason it's not higher is because the financial impact is limited. It's helpful, practical, and sustainable, but not transformational. That makes B tier a fair placement. Which brings us next to minimalism. I think I said that right. I have a terrible time pronouncing that, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw it at A. I'm putting minimalism in A because it encourages intentional spending. Owning less reduces expenses and shifts focus toward value instead of consumption. Minimalism pairs well with delayed gratification and long-term thinking. The downside is that extreme minimalism can become restrictive or obsessive for some people. Still, the core idea, buying less and buying better, is powerful. When practiced reasonably, minimalism leads to smarter financial decisions and less stress, earning it an A tier spot. Which brings us next to something that's not great, which is net worth tracking. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this at D, because while awareness is fine, obsession is harmful. Constantly checking your net worth can turn money into an unhealthy scorecard. It doesn't improve daily habits and often creates unnecessary stress. Knowing your net worth occasionally is fine, but fixating on it doesn't make you better with money. Personal finance should focus on behavior, not constant comparison. Because of the unhealthy culture surrounding it, net worth tracking lands in D tier. But before we go any further, later we're going to talk about roommates, and I'll give you my honest opinion on whether they're actually a smart personal finance move or a hidden mistake most people underestimate. But first, let's go ahead and fill out our F tier a little bit more. Payday loans, man. Oh my gosh. They're going in F tier. Payday loans come with extreme high interest rates and trap people in cycles of debt. They target those already struggling and make financial situations worse. Short repayment windows and massive fees create long-term damage. There's almost never a scenario where a payday loan improves someone's finances. This is one of the worst financial products available, and it firmly belongs in F tier. But bringing us back to earth a little bit, we do have renting, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in C tier because it's straight up just neutral. Renting doesn't build equity, but it offers flexibility. It makes sense for students, early career workers, and people not ready to settle down. While rent money doesn't come back to you, it pays for shelter and mobility. Renting isn't bad, but it's not wealth building either. Because it serves a purpose without long-term upside, C tier is the most accurate placement. But now let's go ahead and talk about roommates, which is gonna land us down into B tier over here. I'm putting roommates in B tier because they can dramatically lower housing costs. Financially, roommates are always a win. The downside is quality of life. Bad roommates can be very stressful. Good roommates, however, make saving money much easier. This category depends heavily on who you live with, since the financial upside is strong, but the experience varies. Roommates land in B tier overall. Which brings us to side hustles, which I absolutely love. We're gonna go ahead and drop it in A tier. I'm putting side hustles in A tier because extra income accelerates everything. Side hustles won't always make you rich, but they create flexibility and opportunity. Whether it's freelancing, selling skills, or part-time work, additional income can be invested or saved. Side hustles aren't about burnout, they're about using your strengths. When done intentionally, they speed up financial progress significantly, which is why they earn A tier. But let's move on here to student loans, which I'm gonna go ahead and throw into C tier here. I'm putting student loans in C tier because they're often a necessary evil. Financially, they're not great, but for some people, they're the only way to access education. The key is urgency. Student loans should be paid off as aggressively as possible. They shouldn't be treated casually. While I don't love them, I understand their role. Because they're sometimes necessary but still risky, student loans land in C tier. Bringing us next to subscriptions, which I'm gonna go ahead and throw into C tier as well. I'm putting subscriptions in C tier because they're useful but often abused. 1 or 2 subscriptions you actually use are fine. The only problem is subscription creep. Paying monthly for things you barely touch, that wasted money adds up fast. Subscriptions aren't evil, but they require regular audits because they can either add value or drain finances depending on behavior. C tier is again the right middle ground. Which brings us to used cars, and this is an absolute banger as well. We're gonna go ahead and throw that in A tier. Used cars avoid massive depreciation and cost far less than new vehicles. When chosen carefully, they're reliable and practical. You get transportation without destroying your net worth. Compared to new car loans, used cars are a massive win. While they won't make you rich, they prevent unnecessary losses, earning them an easy A tier. But now that you know which financial strategies actually work and which ones to avoid, there's one ultimate goal that combines all the best advice we just covered. But most people think it's impossible on a regular income when it's actually more achievable than they realize. So check out this video where I break down exactly how to retire early on a middle class income.